In this tutorial, I'm going to show how you can limit the movement range of your moving heads or scanners and ensure that all fixtures move together in the correct direction. So if you're using any form of moving lights, we of course highly recommend you do this, as it's going to make your show look much more professional and it's going to make it much easier to control as well. So in this project, I have two groups of fixtures. I've got some moving heads on the top and I've got some moving heads on the floor. If I go into the fixture setup screen, I can now start by selecting all of the fixtures in group A. So I'm just keeping this encoder pressed whilst I turn it to multi-select these fixtures. So as you can see in the visualizer, all of the fixtures on the top have been illuminated in white, which is really helpful so that we know exactly what fixtures we have selected. We can now go to the fixture limit screen, and we can start by just dragging this crosshair around to get a rough idea of the sort of movement range of these fixtures. There's quite a lot that we don't want here. It's going all the way up to this back wall. It's doing several rotations on the pan axis as well. So this is going to make the fixtures very hard to control. So let's start by adjusting the minimum tilt. Let's bring this up to about 50%. So that means now if I start dragging this down, the lowest those fixtures on the top can go is there, which is straight down towards the stage. In fact, I might bring this up slightly more. Put it to 54. There we go, that's nice. Okay, so that's the minimum tilt sorted. Let's take a look at the top side. Okay, so that goes quite high up to the ceiling. Maybe let's bring the maximum tilt down to say 95%. Maybe even more, 90. There we go, that's better. So if I run this tilt effect, it's now going to alternate between the minimum and maximum values so we can see exactly what that range of movement is. So now let's take a look at the pan. If I move this over to the right, so I only want this to go about over there to that sort of that wall, and I don't want it to go all the way back to the back side of the stage. So let's just start by bringing the maximum pan down to, let's say, maybe 65%. I now move this all the way over. There we go, it stops right there, which is right where I want it to be. Let's do the same for the minimum pan. So it's probably going to be around 35%. Perfect, there we go. So now we have a really nice range for these fixtures to move in, and it's never going to exceed that range. So one thing that you may have noticed actually is that when I pull this off to the left, my fixtures move right, and when I go to the right, they move left. So I actually don't want this to happen. I would like to invert the direction of the pan. So we have a handy button up here, which I can enable. And now as I move this off to the right, the fixtures in white move to the right, and same in the opposite direction. So that's our top head sorted. I'm going to go back and deselect these fixtures, and let's take a look at the fixtures in group B. Okay, so we've got all of those selected, and again we'll go into the fixture limits. So because these fixtures are mounted in the opposite direction to the top heads, we're probably going to have to bring the maximum tilt down to 50% rather than the minimum tilt. There we go. So now we can see as I move these up, they'll point all the way up to the ceiling, and that's as far as they'll go. I'm going to bring the minimum tilt up as well, maybe to about 5%, maybe a bit more. Let's go to 10. There we go, 15 looks good. So that's our tilt range sorted. I'm going to assume that the pan range is going to be the same as my other group of fixtures. So I'll set this to 35% minimum, 65% maximum, and let's move these around. Now, as you can see, both groups of fixtures are now moving perfectly together. The direction is good. Again, we can try these little effects so that we can see the full range of movement in the pan axis or in the tilt axis. And that looks great. If I quickly jump into the move effects and trigger a circle effect, so you can see all fixtures now move really nicely together. So there we go. That's how you can limit the movement range of your moving heads and scanners.